All right. Video 93. Yeah, today was another good day. I feel like that's every day, but like I've said previously, this is a mentality, it's a way of thinking. And regardless of where the day really goes, there's always something good to think about and something good to do. And like I said, these videos always done that, and that's something that I think is a good thing that it does, right? Even at the end of the day, even when you're tired, even when, it's good to just come back, think about the good stuff, think about what happened today, be accountable, but also really put this out there. And that's what these are. And then tell the story, right? That's the big thing, which is actually interesting and just totally off topic, but something that I think it is interesting recently, right? So there's also the like Netflix, they put out the WWE put out a documentary of like kind of behind the scenes, right? How it all works, and I think just totally got off topic, but on telling stories, and I think that's you really start seeing what it takes to tell a certain story, right? And there's obviously the talking, right? These stuff, even if they're not always planned, they're not always fully, up to par with being, some official, properly structured content, but they're still, you know, they're still telling that story, right? There's still the constant storytelling aspect. And with a project like Space Elevator, or even any building any company, or again, you can scale it to any level, there's a certain storytelling aspect, right? There's a certain understanding of this is what happened and this is how it happened. So that first of all, the advantages of that is that it can be scalable, so someone else can go in and do the same thing. But even if not specifically scalable, there's a story, right? There's an interesting set of events that happened and that took place and built this. So yeah, really good there. Everything, yeah, is I guess going well. Today I met with someone that I reached out to months ago when we were just starting this project about, just someone who was part of the previous space elevator competitions, about just to connect and really, learn what succeeded there, what didn't work there. And I did that to a lot of people. I met with a few of them, right? It's just a game of numbers. Right? You reach out to 100, you'll get through to 30, and then you'll meet with 10, right? And that's just how it goes. Um, and just play the game of numbers, right? Do enough so that you're going to get that yes, right? And that's all you really need is that one yes. Or obviously, depending on what you need. So yeah, so we've been meeting, very interesting perspective, had some interesting good ideas. Another person now that knows about us and is part of this journey. He also wrote a book about a space elevator, just a novel, but still interesting. I would like to read it if I get time, so it's on my list. Uh, yeah, just really interesting. Grateful that people are willing to give their time to go through it, to talk about their experiences, to really help out this mission that we're doing. Then I also met with Michael, right? My business advisor, main one, I guess. He is, yeah, very helpful there. Gave some advice and we were talking a little bit about managing a remote team, and that's something that again I'm new to. It's different. Enjoying it, enjoying the learning curve of it. We're doing something different. We're international. We're on a big level, so there's a lot of new things to learn there and grow from, and that's just part of it, right? There's a lot of that, but I guess my previous management style and seeing people is very much I like see or I get a lot from seeing a person's face, right? And I think that's important. If you don't have that skill, develop it. It's a good thing. It's definitely not that hard to learn, or it just takes really seeing enough people, making enough mistakes, but learning from those mistakes, not making the same mistake again, and just getting to see people's faces, right? Getting to see um what they're feeling, what they want, right? When they want to be talked to, when they want to be left alone. Really understanding, are they motivated today? Do they need a break? And you can see that when you talk to someone, when you're not with someone and you message them, you don't always get that. And sometimes people don't want to be messaged, right? So that you might stress them out just by saying, hey. And again, it's just something I'm navigating and figuring out. And I think like I said, we're in that first generation or that first set of years of being able to build a business like this. Zoom and all these, the whole infrastructure for doing remote business wasn't really this well developed until, COVID. So until, at this point, 5 years ago. So it's really within these 5 years that companies are able to be built like this. So yeah, we're kind of in that still experimental zone and figuring it out. And the way we do it might help with whatever happens in the future. Specifically, I'm saying like that, right? Now, yeah. So that's an interesting thing. Talking about that, learning that man, just learning a little bit about that style, learning a little bit about what to do. Yeah, it's complicated. It's something we have to figure out navigation wise. I think I'm going to try to push a little more meetings, be a little more open, maybe is one thing that I could definitely do. Just directly ask my team, right? How often do you want to be talked to? How often do you want me to check up on you? Right? And then set hard goals. Set hard, okay, this should be done by this point. And I mean, that's what we've come to at the end of our conversation, at least to try that, see where that goes. He also gave me a bunch of suggestions to reach out to certain people, and we're still very much looking for a lawyer. So I reached out to some people there. Very much, yeah, just a few things like that. And then again, just catching up with the team today a little bit. Hopefully have some more meetings tomorrow with them. Really just, it's day by day. It's a big project, but it's also the mission, right? Now, okay. I think just a pretty rough sample of what happened today. And now I'm just going and continue going over our culture documents, which is just basically the outline of and the important points that I've written out for the culture of our organization. Right? Again, we're international, we're spread out, and we're remote at this point, at least. And even not, right? There's still certain values that we have to have and certain values that we should adhere to. And again, these are well thought out, or I believe so. And yeah, just keep sharing them. So. The next article is Our Culture Growing Through Constructive Criticism. Now, this is where this can be debatable, right? And I think this has to be done properly, and that's what I outline here. So I'm a very big believer in constructive criticism, very big believer in understanding that everything is a work in progress. Everything is constantly under development. Doesn't matter how good you think you are at something, there's always something you can improve there. And understanding that and understanding that someone else's opinion matters, right? So we all want to grow. We all understand that constructive criticism is important. Now, I define constructive criticism, we define just constructive criticism directly here, which is it needs to have positive intent. You need to be intending to help the person, solely to help the person, not there to hurt the person or anything like that. You need to have it fact-based, right? It can't be your opinion on how to deal with something. You need to have some basis of what you're saying, right? Proving it. Again, if you have experiences, that's a fact-based system, but it needs to be proven, right? It needs to be something that you either have experience with or that you know for sure works. And then you need to give a suggestion, right? And I think that's very important is not just telling someone, hey, you're doing something wrong, but telling them how to fix it, right? Hey, you're doing this and this wrong. Don't say it like that. Say it, more like, I think this and this could be done a little bit differently. This doesn't work so well, as you see here and here. This is why it failed. But you could do this instead. This would help. This would make it better, right? You want to give an answer. You don't need to be the answer that they listen to. It doesn't need to be very, but you want to put that out, right? Be very kind about it. Be careful about it. But from the receiving end of it, we should all understand that constructive criticism helps us, and we're all on this journey together, growing together, and together we can grow, right? Diversity, like I said, is one of our strong suits. It makes it complicated, it does toughen up the business side of it, but it really helps us become better as an organization and as individual people, right? If we're out having different perspectives while helping each other, it helps, right? We really can. So those are the things at WSpec we want to do that. At WSpec we want to promote constructive criticism. Again, done in the proper way. And that's very important with something like this. Okay, next part of our culture is keeping each other in the loop. And this is a very big part about our being international, being separate. It's very important to have constant communication. And one rule that we have written out right here is that we want a response within 18 hours. So if someone messages you, if someone emails you, even if you don't have the answer, you don't need to have the answer, but respond with, okay, got it, I'll get back to you tomorrow. Or I'll get back to you when I have an answer, right? Or just got it. stuff like that. And I think that's so important, especially when you just don't know what the other person is thinking, right? Or you don't know if the other person even saw your message. So it's very important to just make sure you have that communication, put that extra effort into just making sure that they understand that you at least acknowledge that you saw their messages and you saw their whatever it is, and that's that, right? And then within 18 hours. So it's within 18 hours, there should always be a back and forth, or the end of that conversation, right? Or tell them that you'll get back to them in a little bit, right? And then that's fine. Um, that's good. Now, another part of our culture is our structure for speed and stability. And this is more our organizational structure. We have a full, document outlining that. And that's stuff that, you send to when you're filing the IRS and filing an organization, right? You have to have your organizational structure, right? What's the plan for your organization? Who's in charge? What's the hierarchy? Right? Who's responsible for what, basically? And just simply the way we're organized in the our culture document, it's not, a long thing. It's just a little short description. But basically, we have five core groups in the company. We have the organizational structure. I've gone through this before already, but we just have the five core groups. We have the organizational structure, which is the organization. That's like the executives, that type of thing. The overall strategies, things like that. There's the image picture, which is responsible for all the image side of the brand, internally and externally. So HR, marketing, things like that are all part of the image side of WSpec. Financial side, so that's the financial side that's in raising money and generating revenue, in spending money, accounting, things like that. It's financial aspect. There's the operations side, so that's the day-to-day operations, that's planning the events, that's reaching out to people, creating rule books, things like that. And then there's the advisory side. So a big part of our organization is the advisory side, and this is also where we allow sponsors to get involved and just external people, right? To really have that diversity as advisors, and just advise. And again, that's a pillar of our company with five. These are the five pillars, and each of these pillars have a representative on the board, and that's what our board is. So basically, the point of this is that each of these main categories end up being represented in our main structure, and at the same time allows for quick advancement, right? Where we really have diverse answers and diverse, well thought out decisions, but coming from all these different sides of the company. But again, with only a few people, to the point where we can actually make decisions quickly and not get slowed down by bureaucracy, which is something that we want to make sure you don't get too stuck in. So that's basically that, with the subcategories and stuff like that. There's the rules of if you can't have more than three subcategories for bureaucracy, which is important to us, just to make sure that we don't get stuck by these type of things. But each of these pillars can have many, subcommittees, up to five subcommittees, and then each of those can have up to five, and that's where it stops. And then those can have as many committee members as they want, but that's in growth. Just a strategic thing. Again, maybe this will change over time. Like I said, this on a document, it's going to get reviewed every year, can change every year depending on where the world goes, and depending on where we go. So we'll see. This is just where we are right now, and that's the structure. It makes a lot of sense for where we are. One last thing, just another point, is our culture seek different perspectives. So kind of on this line, but very, very big believer in getting different perspectives and getting understanding why not of every single thing you do. And that's a cultural thing we want to put, right? Any decision you make, if you're making a decision of any kind, think why not? Think about the opposite side of whatever it is. Understand, play devil's advocate with yourself, right? Really understand why you shouldn't do what you want to do. And then once you know that, again, you may still decide to do it, and that would be good, right? Because that means that you've made a proper decision, or not, right? Or understand that this is not the thing that you should do. It may give you better understanding of it. Again, usually not. Usually you will end up sticking with what you decided, but at least really understand what the other side would be, right? At the end of the day, there's always a negative side. There's always an opposite side. There's always a reason to do something and a reason not to do it. Just understand why not, right? you're reaching out to someone. It's great to do that, right? And you should. But decide not doing it, hey, maybe you're not ready, right? Maybe you're not prepared enough. By no means will I say that stops you, and I think you should, right? Personally, I'm always reaching out to people. I don't care if how they think of you, right? You have to shoot your shot. Well, that's the way I think of it. But again, understand why not. Really just understand it, and then you can have a better answer, or at least know that you have a more defined, a better answer. Either way. Okay. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this made sense. Hope you can learn something. If you have any advice, any suggestions, please leave them in the comments, reach out, and good luck.